Hi, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Raise the Vibe with Liz. I'm your host, Liz Peterson, and today I'm going to be talking about consciousness and empowerment with Divneet Kaur Lall for joining me today. So Divneet Kaur Lall is an author, speaker, and consciousness expert. She is the discoverer of the Law of Unification, which empowers people to create new creations for the world and a conscious life of purpose. She is an integrative thinker who foregathered diverse components of research using her visionary perspective to devise the formula of creation to unlock our highest potential. She helps individuals to master innovation, mental clarity, and self-knowledge for personal and social transformations. Divneet has spent the past 2 decades studying consciousness development and self-mastery. She inspires individuals to think in creative, innovative, and radical ways to develop new solutions. She is dedicated to supporting individuals and leaders in accelerating their journey to fulfillment. Divneet, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Liz. Thank you so much for having me.
So great to have you. Thank you for joining me. So let's jump right in to consciousness. So you studied consciousness for 2 decades and have been going through a process of self-mastery. So why don't you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah. So although, I was kind of like very interested in spiritual texts and books as a child. So it had been like a long journey, but I never took it seriously. Like I was doing it just because I was interested in it. So I was working in a technical job and just trying to balance all these spiritual practices, meditation techniques, my interest in this consciousness and all these spiritual, texts and meditation practices. But what happened was that an experience changed everything. So I had this experience where I was meditating, and suddenly this something just vanished. Like there was this, I felt this stillness, this emptiness, and there was this. It just got dark, like empty, dark, void, and very still. And after a while these ideas started hitting me, and like I was not able to understand what actually happened. And I was trying to figure things out, but I knew somehow that this experience is not like it's something related to that spirituality or maybe my meditation practices. But it was not the whole experience. Like it was not the the like where we need to reach at that moment. It was not it. So after a while, when this darkness was there, this emptiness was there, after a while this brightness started increasing, and it just got day by day, it just got fuller. And there was a time when I realized that now this is it. Like there was something, and this fullness came in, and the peace and that stillness, it was by this fullness, this light, bright light, and I was able to see it everywhere, and it was really beautiful. And not just that, because now that person dissolved, that the person who was actually meditating, who was a spiritual person, who thought she was a spiritual person and reading all those books and everything, actually went away. And now I did not know what to do, and I was even not able to continue with my job, with my work. It was like whenever I used to go there, something just kind of felt like I just need to go away. And I kind of struggled with it. But that struggle was between that period when that, emptiness came in, and that brightness came in. Between that period, there was this struggle, because still everything was not, kind of combined. So that struggle was there. And ultimately, I had to follow those ideas, and I had to spend more time in solitude. I also did more self-inquiry, and following those ideas, this mastering creation, the book Mastering Creation using the Law of Unification, came into existence. And all those techniques, methods, and all the knowledge that I have used to reach this place, and all these practices. So this book is actually a result of that, combined with the ideas that came in, that were coming in with force, that were required to be manifested in the world, or that were required to be given form in the world.
Nice. So you have the spiritual awakening, this light comes in, you are feeling yourself dissolve into nothingness, which is beautiful. And then you start following your ideas, dare I say, your intuition, and started channeling these ideas in through that stillness and that emptiness. Correct?
Yeah, and I do not know about channeling, to be very honest. It's more like the state is kind of now permanent. Like, I do not have to kind of channel, or maybe earlier I used to meditate. Now even I feel that now every work I do feels like a meditation, because that background of stillness is always there. Earlier the thoughts were there, and I was trying to bring in that stillness into my life through meditation. But now it's the opposite. It's like that stillness is there. Now thoughts come up, emotions are there, everything is there, but they do not I do not identify with them. And maybe there is no I, because that person kind of dissolves. So I'm just unable to identify with those thoughts, with those feelings. So they come up and they kind of they come up and they leave. So there is no attachment, there is no identification, and it's a beautiful flow, I would say.
That's beautiful. And it is with meditation where you drop into that stillness and those ideas are allowed to flow through naturally.
Right.
So how did you
yeah, please speak.
Go ahead. And you said, and I
do not know what I was saying. I'm so sorry. Yeah.
That's okay. I want to back up a little bit and go right to the beginning, because you're young and you're doing spiritual study, different methods and modalities. Can you kind of touch a little bit on what some of those methods and modalities and readings were that you were studying?
Right. So mostly, when I started, the first book I read, like as a child, I was very young, and I have even started the book Mastering Creation, using the Law of Unification with that thing. So I was very young, around 10 or 11 years old, and I had this book in my maybe my home. It was in my closet or something. Maybe my dad read it, or my mom did that. So it was there, and I read that. I do not even remember the name or the author of the book, but there were some practices related to these kind of spiritual practices: how to meditate, how to sit in meditation, how to do that. In India, we have this dhyan. It's a Hindi word, it's a Sanskrit or Hindi word, and so we do this dhyan thing there, where we put our concentration and we kind of sit in that meditation practice by concentrating our mind on our breath. So we do these breathing techniques, or it can be a mantra. We also do that. So we focus our attention upon that. So I started with that, and I have never used those kind of recorded meditations. I have never done that. I have done very simple and very old techniques, which yogis in India used to do, those kind of pranayams and all those yogic methods mostly. And those techniques, and I think this is the result of those techniques. And additional, so to that, there were these teachings which I used to learn from various texts. So there were the holy books we found in India, so like Bhagavad Gita, and then we have the holy book of Sikhs, that's Guru Granth Sahib. And there were many books. I have also read a lot of books from American authors, and a lot of books. But yeah, mostly I used to, if I talk about the gems, those gems I found in the ancient holy texts. So it doesn't matter what religion, but yeah, I kind of found the same. Although the language was different, although the way of representing was different, but they were all talking about the same thing. It was always there in those ancient texts. And nowadays, I do not know, but yeah, authors do it, or the enlightened people talk about the same thing too, but there are very few. But the ancient texts, yeah, I love them. I have read them a lot.
And when you say they say the same thing, what do you mean exactly?
the same thing, yeah, the same truth. Like, when we talk about this dissolution in those checks, or maybe some people say it's the oneness we feel with God, or maybe with the universe, with the energy, with the consciousness. Some people say that we dissolve this ego or maybe person, but it's all the same thing. So when the dissolution comes in, it can be your ego, it can be the person, it can be the identification, whatever goes away, ultimately there is this oneness, and it's the same. So there are different words to say it. Consciousness, God, we meet God, we see God, we kind of dissolve in God. It's all same thing. And yeah, this is what I have read in all those texts.
Great. So you've defined consciousness a little bit. Can you define it and describe it a little bit more for our listeners? How you see consciousness?
It's very difficult for me to define it, but yeah, I kind of explain it like what I think consciousness is. So what I see is like this brightness and this field of brightness which kind of covers everything, and it kind of needs to evolve, and it's always there. So it is not that I saw it and it came at that moment. It was not like that. It was always there. It's just something from my eyes went away, like a curtain or something, and I was able to see it. So it's always there. And what we need to do is this consciousness is also present in us, and when it evolves, it kind of reaches those higher levels of consciousness where we can experience this brightness or this fullness of the consciousness. So I think consciousness is it's all about the evolution of consciousness. And even if we talk about us, how can we witness that consciousness, or how can we connect with those higher levels of consciousness? I would say that the thing that all we need to do is we need to evolve and reach those higher levels of consciousness for actually experiencing it. And maybe our planet can experience it as well, if we can collectively do that.
That would be really nice, wouldn't it? If we could
That
collectively
would
do
be
that. So
definitely.
how would one go about tapping into this consciousness?
So in this book, Mastering Creation Using the Law of Unification, I have used this term because I really, when I experienced this, there was these ideas coming into my mind, and I was kind of forced to work upon them. And so I call this idea mind, a plane, which is actually a link between the higher levels of consciousness and the mind, the human mind. And once the mind connects with this idea mind, it is able to receive those ideas which can come from those higher levels of consciousness. And using those ideas, we can produce, or we can create new frameworks and new models on our planet, in this world, which can actually be an example of those higher levels of consciousness. Because it's not about our inner evolution, it's also about how we can utilize that inner evolution, or how we can utilize those higher levels uh, to make this planet better, or make this world better. Because it's okay, like I experience it, it's okay, I can sit in a corner and be fulfilled with it and have fun with it. But no, I think it would be better if we can share it, and other people can also get that, or reach those higher levels, then can provide those new frameworks and structures, create those new frameworks in the world, which can help that consciousness to evolve further and this planet to evolve further.
Great. Awesome. So using the idea mind. So how can we use the idea mind when we want to get control of our impulses? Like, what role does willpower play in our idea mind and manifesting these ideas that we're getting while we're in stillness?
Yes. So willpower is like extremely important, because whatever practices I have done, and wherever this unification is coming from, it's from my experience and how I have reached there. And I although I was not following this thing, my higher purpose at that moment earlier in my life, until I became aware about this, but I was still using these techniques and this willpower, and which actually was increasing my awareness to a certain level. And the moment it just became to that highest level, that dissolution came in. So what how willpower helps us, it kind of helps us in controlling those lower levels of desires, or maybe our impulses, and anything which comes from the lower levels of consciousness. So there are certain forces that come from the lower levels of consciousness, and they are like so there are beliefs. If we do not inquire the beliefs, and maybe those beliefs were formed in our childhood. For example, if I talk about my case, it can be that, like, maybe I had to do. I learned that I need to study and I need to do a job and I need to, live a very normal life. I never thought that I'll be writing a book, become an author, and teach about law of unification. So this was a belief in me, and I tried to, even that I had certain awareness a little bit that maybe that is my interest, but I tried to kind of push it away or kept it on a back seat, like, let me do what I'm doing. And those were the beliefs that were formed in my life because of those lower levels of consciousness, because of my environment, because of maybe what I saw on television or on social media, like, this is what people do, this is what normal life is. And those uninquired beliefs are one of the forces of lower levels of consciousness. Similarly, we have these desires which come from lower levels of consciousness. Now, these are like, again, maybe we got it from our environment, like someone has a particular thing and we thought, like, now we need this, like those desires came up. Now I need that thing because the other person has it. Maybe we watched on social media or television or somewhere, and these desires are again coming from lower levels of consciousness. Now, when we rise above these desires or these uninquired beliefs, and also there are attachment, that is also lower level of, it's also a force of lower level of consciousness. And those attachments are because which these attachments are built because which are created because of our habits, or maybe we are dependent upon something, maybe on some people. And then there is this uh, security, because we just feel secure and we do not want to change, we do not want to bring in the new, or maybe so these ideas are coming in your life, but we are just neglecting them because of these attachments, these just lower desires, these lower beliefs. So all these forces, if we can rise above these forces of lower levels of consciousness using the willpower, because it's very important to exercise our willpower. We just cannot we cannot even discern which force is coming from lower level, or what desire is coming from lower level, until we have a certain amount of control on those lower impulses, because only then that discernment will come in, like we'll be able to do that. So exercising willpower is like the basic, very basic first step in this process of mastering creation using this law of unification. And once we do that, like rise above those forces of lower levels of consciousness, it's easy to connect with the idea mind, which is not exactly higher levels of consciousness, but a connection between those higher levels. And once we can go there, we can get those, ideas which are coming from higher levels of consciousness. And also, our highest duty. So it's like, we are here for a purpose, and what purpose is it we all are here for? It's mostly it's evolution, but how to take that path of evolution. So all those ideas, even our minor decisions in our lives, like what to do or what is the next step, that comes from the idea mind. That does not come from the mind, because mind is more, it's more limited, and it's more about information and data, and it can easily be convinced by what we see around us, what we see in our environment. So we have to reach out to that idea mind, and then we need to bring in those ideas and then connect with the human mind, so that that human mind can actually now use the knowledge and that information to give form to that idea, or to to take that next step in the life in the material world. So the purpose of this mind is to use it appropriately in this material world.
Wonderful. I love this. I love this so much because I also teach about this. I use different language, but also teach this. And I think it's such powerful information for people to have. So I'm so glad that you're out there. You've written this book. Your book is called Mastery Creation, Using the Law of Unification. And I'm so glad that you're bringing this learning to the world in such a powerful way. Thank you, Divneet. And let's describe exactly what is the law of unification for people. Define that for people and how you came up with that title.
Yeah. So, when I talk about these ideas that were coming with force, so most of these ideas were about the creator gods. So all these mythologies, they have these motives of creator gods, which are actually represented with a similar kind of image and motive. And this is it's of a bird or an eagle, which is combined with a reptile or a snake, and it's found in various images of creator gods. It's so in Mastering Creation, I have given some names like Quetzalcoatl and Isis and various others. And also similar kind of images were found in other mythologies as well. And then there was so here this bird or eagle is actually representing that idea mind, the higher level of consciousness, and this reptile or that snake is representing the material world, the lower level of consciousness, our human mind. So all the creator gods had these motives, like they were found in combination. Then another theory here is that another motive or another image or another statue, which can also be seen, is of the same bird or eagle fighting with the snake, struggle between that higher consciousness to like the human mind is, because it is so much it's grasped in those lower levels of consciousness, it's just rejecting those ideas that are coming from those higher levels of consciousness or the idea mind, because of which we see that our planet is suffering, because of which all these fear, anxiety, we experience, all these humans experience, because they struggle to accept those ideas. They are like their ego or their mind comes in between all these things. And this is like the two things where we're talking about how they combine. Now another one is we talk about the geniuses who bring new creations into the world. Now again, geniuses never bring their new creations into the world using the mind. If we go into history and see their papers or listen to their interviews, they have always said that their new creation came to them, or their idea came to them when they were relaxing, when their mind was relaxing. And a lot of them have also said that and then they worked upon that idea using their mind and created that hypothesis or creation in the world. So again, the idea mind here is connecting with the mind. And then we have other mythologies, like Bhagavad Gita talks about tree of life. Also, tree of life, we have talked about, we have seen a lot of places where tree of life is shown. It can be, even some artists have depicted this tree of life. We do not know what it means, but it actually symbolizes that the creator, like tree of life is a creator which brings fruits into the world. And again, it brings fruits, and that bark is kind of a medium that provides those ideas to those branches. And then there are roots, which is the higher consciousness. And it's also represented in that upside down manner, which actually totally kind of shows this, that those roots are at a higher level of consciousness, and those fruits are just the creation, which is at a lower level of consciousness. Now, when those fruits come into the world, creators like need to, provide it to the world, or maybe to benefit others, and they do not have to get attached to those fruits, and again go to those roots and that idea mind to bring in new creations and new fruits for the world. So this is the whole theory of creation. And law of unification is when, when we overcome those lower levels of consciousness and we rise above them, and we connect with the idea mind. And when the powers of idea mind and the powers of mind combine, creation and evolution occurs in the world, in one's life, and wherever we want to bring in those new frameworks and models.
I love that, Divneet. Thank you. And then what does living this law bring us if we choose to follow it? What can people hope that this will change in their lives?
Okay. The first thing is, it's so important for us to distinguish between what we really are here for. A lot of us, we just do not know what we are here for, what we need to do. We just do not know what is the next step we need to take. We are so confused. This confusion is which is currently overpowering. We have so many choices in this world right now because we are overloaded with information. There are so many choices for everything, and we do not know what to choose. So if we follow this law of unification, and if we can connect with this idea mind and unify our mind with the idea mind, it will be that those choices will just become so spontaneous that we'll not even have to think what we need to do. It will be like the next action, we'll just know what we need to do. And I think that's the best part here, because that is what we need to walk upon the path of evolution, to walk upon the path which can take us to that truth, to our destination. Because if we are going to follow the mind all the time, if we are going to do all those analysis and use all those things, and choose or make decisions in our lives, we are going to suffer, because that's not our individual dharma. So all people have their individual dharma, like their highest duty, their purpose in this world. And if we do not follow that, we are not going to feel fulfilled. We may get other things, we may kind of achieve some material things, but for fulfillment, we have to follow that individual dharma. We have to walk those steps which are going to take us to our evolution. And not just it in turn will kind of help us as a planet, as a world, and will take care of the functioning of the whole. And these things which we are facing right now, all this stress, anxiety, and all this distortion in the world, we'll be able to overcome it. All we need to do is we need to follow our own individual dharma. And law of unification helps in making us recognize, or maybe just being aware of where is that path, where is how to follow that individual dharma.
I see. So using this, following this path to listen to our ideas, that are coming in that stillness, and giving us the guidance to what our dharma, what our soul's purpose is.
Yes, it is definitely. And the purpose is actually evolution, but how do we evolve, and how do we reach that? How do we reach that place of evolution, or how our consciousness is going to reach those higher levels? But following this is the path, like individual dharma is the path which results in our fulfillment and in our evolution. And I have shared this beautiful verse from Bhagavad Gita a lot in so many interviews. I'm going to share it again because it's beautiful. Then to succeed in following another person's dharma or another's dharma. Nothing is ever lost in following your own individual dharma. So it's more like the influences we get from our surroundings that we forget what we are here for. And also, we our awareness is it just decreases, because of the more the information, the more the distraction, our awareness is going to decrease, and our consciousness be drawn towards all these things, all the information or all the influences around us.
How do we align that awareness with his consciousness?
How do we align that awareness with the consciousness? I do not think we need to align that awareness with the consciousness. I do not know, like, there may be terms, because we use various terms for consciousness and awareness. It's kind of a mixed kind of thing, but for me the awareness is more like I'll give you an example here how I see it. Whenever I'm like doing something, there is this awareness I feel. It is kind of looking like there is this something is kind of looking, and kind of as a background, you can say, and that is awareness. And when I talk about consciousness, I talk about consciousness in terms of something that evolves, but awareness for me is always there. It's just that we are not we are not aware, like we just do not know it's there. So when I say we are on a heightened level of awareness, it just means that now we are able to witness that awareness. So like earlier when I was at a I was not able to be I was not aware about this, so at that moment I was not able to witness that awareness. So right now when I'm able to witness that awareness, I would say that my awareness has heightened. And slowly, if we use the same that willpower, we can experience this heightened level of awareness. And consciousness is more about it's more about the evolution, like reaching those higher levels where those ideas come from, where we can actually bring in those new creations into the world. And it is more like the bright light I see in the world, and that is what I call consciousness.
Nice. And how does the law of unification compare to the law of attraction?
Yes, law of attraction, it's where it works on the lower levels of consciousness, like it works from the mind. And it's like I desire something, and now I try to manifest it using maybe some techniques of law of attraction, or maybe some affirmations, or whatever techniques they use in law of attraction. But in law of unification, it's mostly about we really need to first discern, like, what are the desires that are coming from lower levels of consciousness, and what are the desires coming from higher levels. So we need to do that. We need to connect with the idea mind, bring in those higher desires. And we are following law of attraction, it can happen that sometimes we manifest things, and but those things do not provide us fulfillment. We may manifest them using the law of attraction, but ultimately because they were not our individual dharma, we just use those techniques to manifest them in the world, and now we are not feeling fulfilled, although we have all those things. So it is coming from the mind. It's working on that lower level using the human mind. Law of unification is different because it connects you to your highest duty, your highest purpose. So now maybe your lower desire is that you want good amount of money, you want to get rich. But if it's not your highest duty, then that will not provide you fulfillment in the long run. You may get it, but ultimately you'll not feel fulfilled. And there are so many stories we have already heard about people who have found success, and still they feel unfulfilled. So that's the reason, because they are just they have not connected to that higher purpose. They have not they were not aware of that higher purpose they were born for, and that is the reason they followed what they were doing, and now they just feel unfulfilled.
Gotcha. Okay. So I'm jotting this down. So uniting with that source, that's consciousness, to bring in that next thing on your path, which is part of your soul's purpose. right? To have fulfillment. Yes?
Yeah, that's correct. That's absolutely correct. This is a complicated thing, I know. And a lot of times I say, if we are going to get more, trying to understand those words, and it's gonna puzzle us. It's gonna, because this is something, this experience which I had, it was so deep and so intimate that it's not even, it's not even, how can we even share it? How can we even give words to it? I was the person who used to read those books, and this experience, I would say, it can't even match to that. It was like a shock. So in the first moment, like when that dissolution happened, it comes to you as a shock, because you do not expect this. We think about, there is something very, yes, obviously there was beautiful when the brightness came in, but yeah, when that ego dissolves, when that person dissolves, it's very shocking, it's very disorienting, because we do not expect that. In the spiritual text they use those words, but that experience, it cannot be defined. It's like, we can use various words connecting with, idea mind, getting those ideas and reaching those higher levels of consciousness. So it's just a way to uh, to make that path easier. But it's better if we do not, get, or wrap ourselves with the words. We can get an understanding how to do that, but then we can try those practices and then follow that path. That would be, and also it would be easier on the path, because on that path too, there will come a lot of times when we'll have to, leave these things, these words, these theories, these practices. And if we are not able to leave them at that moment, that would be really difficult for us to walk upon that path, because then because that is the time when you do not even have those words with you to support you, and you are simply just like an empty vessel, and you do not know. And that is the moment, it's like a test for you, like you have to walk upon that path. So we should not depend upon the words a lot. We should take them and just, get an idea what it is, and then walk that path, take that path. That would be easier for us.
Yeah, to have that experience, to have that dissolution of self and realize that it's not really about us, that it's about this weave that happens when we're bringing our ideas into the world and evolving and growing consciousness, not even within ourselves, but within our community and the world at large. And interweaving this, it's this, how I see it, this interplay, between everyone on the planet to evolve consciousness. And it's about other, as of doing for other and allowing things to progress and open and evolve for the better of everyone.
That's right.
Right?
That's right. And that's because, everyone is us. It's like,
Yeah.
when you see that consciousness, it's like it's all it's all one thing. And only when that person dissolves, we are able to see that it's one. It's we just get attached to this body, this mind, that this is me. But when that dissolution comes and we see there is nothing me, or there is nothing you. It's just one field that is covering everything. And all we can do is we can raise that awareness and see that and witness that. And this is what, like in mastering creation, when I talk about evolution, so for me the evolution is this, like, we need to witness that. And if we can use that, those higher levels, and bring in those frameworks and models, because that would make our lives easier. That would also if these lower levels of forces are growing, then it would be really difficult for us to connect with those higher levels. So if the evolved souls, if the ones who have actually reached those planes, or those realm, or those consciousness, if they can use that to create those new models and frameworks, which is actually holding that new levels of consciousness, and those lower levels will have less impact upon the ones who are not able to connect with that. And it would also become easier for them to connect with those higher levels of consciousness. So we can all collaborate and become a co-creator and a participant in this whole process of taking the planet to those higher levels of consciousness.
Yes, I love that. I love that, Divneet. And it is true, like the law of attraction is very much around personal gain. And the unification that you're speaking about is very much about evolving the consciousness of the planet. And evolving the planet.
Right.
Exactly.
And it feels, it's fulfilling. Even, sometimes I feel I need to share it with people, when get it, it's good, it's fulfilling, but it's even better if I can share it with other people who can actually witness it. How wonderful would it be? Like if we can talk about it. Yes, you can see it. Yes, I can see it too. So yeah, I mean,
yes.
So it would be a beautiful thing on the planet. Like if everyone can, watch this thing and create a planet with that beautiful light and with those beautiful new creations.
Yes, I think so too. And really bring in just the era of that unity consciousness. I mean, how could you, hate your fellow man or be against your neighbor or something like that if you're living in this light, in this co-creation space,
That's true. And mhm.
yeah.
And yes, this is so true. Before this experience, I had all those feelings. It happens sometimes we get those feelings, but after that experience, it kind of becomes difficult to, have that kind of hatred for anyone. And it just happens. We do not do it or we do not practice it, but it kind of just automatically happens. And that is because the hatred comes from that ego, and all those jealousy comes from that ego, that person. And now when that person or ego is not there, it's just empty light. Now who is there to hate another person, or who is there to feel jealous of another person? So it just happens. Yeah,
it really does. It takes that better than, less than out of the equation and puts it as equal to and wanting to help other.
Right, like a service to other, like so yes. And also this higher purpose, like individual dharma we all have here, it's also a service to others. So it is a part, because we're all connected in a manner. We cannot see it, we cannot witness it with the mind, but in a way we are. And we all have like some kind of role to play in each other's lives. And this role, this in when we follow this individual dharma, our purpose, we do not only help our fulfillment, we also help the other person getting fulfillment in their life, maybe the person who is connected to us in any way. Because then when we are on the right path, this is very obvious that the other person we are dealing with will also feel that fulfillment and will be comfortable. Because if we are on the wrong path, we may create wrong relationships, and then we are also becoming an obstruction in the evolution of the other person, just because we were on the wrong path. So we're all connected, and one person following their individual dharma, their own purpose, can in turn help so many other people follow their individual dharma and their own purpose.
Yes, I agree. How do we master creation using this law? Let's dive into that co-creation piece.
Okay.
Maybe you can
I think,
talk
okay.
about that, discuss that a little bit with our listeners.
Okay, the book. I'm so sorry, Liz. You know what is happening right now? My connection goes unstable, and some of your words just, I cannot hear them. So maybe you'll have to repeat them, I guess.
Yes, if you could discuss a little bit that mastering creation piece around your book. That
yes, okay.
Piece, yes.
Right. So now when we talk about this consciousness, and when consciousness evolves and it connects with that idea mind, and when we can connect with that idea mind and bring in those ideas into the world, so in a way we are becoming the creators. So because we now are partnering with that higher level of consciousness, we are the co-creators here. Because And also, this is also a thing that evolution is something which has to happen. We just cannot stop it. It just has to happen. And it can be that we can become conscious creators on that evolution or in this process, or we can just unconsciously be dragged along by that evolving consciousness. And most of the suffering comes from this dragging along when we struggle with that higher consciousness. And it's better to partner it and co-create and evolve the planet. So to master this process, first step is to connect with this idea mind. The second thing we can do is we can follow the law of unification. And following the law of unification, we actually connect with our individual dharma, our higher purpose. Now, also, we need to challenge those old conditionings here, because there are so many things in this world which needs to be challenged, and not just change, because change comes from the mind. Like, it's not like I need to change this, let's make it this. And so no, we need to challenge it. Once we challenge it, it means that we need to rise higher upon that, on those old conditioning, and then bring in the new creations here. And let's not form those new conditionings as well, because again, it's gonna be, those conditionings are something which kind of bind us. So for creators, it's need to be an evolve. The process should be like very fluid. So even when they are creating their new creations, they do not have to, attach themselves or create those new conditioning, create those new attachments. So, and this is the process of mastering creation. And it's also, and another thing which creators do is they serve others. So that's the biggest thing. Not just they serve others, I would say. In this process of mastering creation, the idea mind becomes a servant to the mind, and the mind becomes a servant to the idea mind. So they both are, serving each other. Idea mind is providing the ideas, and the mind is actually helping the idea mind to use those ideas and create new creations. So this is mastery through service. So the mastering creation, in this whole process of mastering creation, service is a major role the creators play, our minds play, idea mind plays. And another thing we can do is, because creators are very much involved with their work, so work is something, it's like a dedication to that higher consciousness. It's like a worship to that higher consciousness they need to do. Because when we're on this path, we just cannot take this lightly. We really need to, follow our highest duty, and we need to take it as a prayer, as a dedication. And through this, we can easily achieve those creations, easily create those new creations in the world. And it's just not just theory, because we have seen so many creators doing that. um, there have been a lot of creators. So for me, creators are the people who actually, bring those, make those bigger impact in the world by doing maybe small things, or maybe big things, it doesn't matter. But yeah, they, through this act of service, they create this big impact in the world. So I talk about a lot of names, like Mother Teresa. She was, the whole purpose of Mother Teresa was to serve and love other people. And it kind of inspired so many people around, when she actually created all these things. And it was beautiful. So it doesn't matter, creators do not need to. And not just Mother Teresa, there are so many other names, so many people, maybe creators whom we do not even know. So you can be a creator, I can be a creator, if we are serving the planet in any way. It can be the smallest way possible, it doesn't need to be the big thing. If we are simply following our individual dharma, that means we are mastering creation. And if we are serving the planet, that means we are, mastering creation. We have actually mastered that process. And because that also happens when we master those impulses which come from lower levels of consciousness, and so many other things. So yes, anyone can be a creator.
Nice. Love that. Any tools or techniques involved in this process, Divneet?
To start with, I always,
Go ahead.
Yes. So to start with, I always say this, I talk about this willpower, like exercising the willpower, because that's really important. And that's the basic, the first step on this. But before that, I also tell people to get, an idea of the theory, because we need to know what are those lower levels of forces we are actually getting over. We are rising above those forces. So we need to know about them. So techniques must, if for willpower, there are several techniques. Even we must have heard a lot of things how to increase willpower in our lives, but we do not practice it. So the simplest one, I share it with everyone, and it's do what you say or meet commitments. Like just even the smallest thing we can talk about. Like even if we are saying, let's say I said, I talked or I committed to myself that I'm going to do this tomorrow. So I must do that. And not just because, it's gonna bring me something, but just because it's gonna exercise my willpower. It's very simple. But we do not do that. We usually, there are a lot of times we delay things. Okay, I'm going to do it next day. What is going to happen? Nothing is going to happen. It's just a method that we use to exercise the willpower. So it's very basic thing. And if we can commit to ourselves, only then we'll be able to commit to other people. And it's very important we do that to other people, because again, it's gonna a lot of times it happens, we have heard stories, and we must have experienced that we commit to other people and we do not fulfill those commitments. And then those feelings, those emotions of maybe anger or maybe rage appears in that person. So it will not only benefit us, that it is going to exercise the willpower, but it's also going to benefit our relationship with the other person. And it's also going to prevent our planet from it's going to decrease the number of people who are getting angry in this world. So that's kind of a side effect we are going to have, the good side effect. So yeah, we can do that. This is a very basic technique. Yeah. And so I talk about to spend time in solitude in this world where we are surrounded by so many things, so much of information. If we cannot if we cannot spend time in solitude, because I have done that a lot. In fact, I love to do that. In fact, that is the best thing I do. So I'm someone who spent a lot of time in solitude, and I have done that a lot. And the best answers come to us when we are in that silent, or in that solitude, and when we are with ourselves, not thinking about anything else. And also with this solitude, we can practice the self-inquiry, asking questions, asking the questions that are really important, like whether we are following those lower levels of desires, or whether we are really following our individual dharma. These are some very important questions we need to ask in our lives, and the answers will come from within for sure. We just need to ask, I think, because I have experienced it that we do not ask the questions. We never ask ourselves. We are like, what do I need? What do I want? And these are the basic questions. Needs and wants they can come from those lower levels. It can be a thing, but when we ask these kind of questions, like what is my highest purpose on this planet, and that is what is going to bring the real change in our lives.
Yes, I agree. Divneet, is there a final gem that you would like to share with our audience today?
Yes, definitely. And I'm here because I really want, I really want to see our planet evolve. And I really want to see that everyone on this planet should experience those higher levels of consciousness. And not just that, I really want to see those new models and those new creations to be so that our planet is kind of suffering, not just human beings, but planet is also suffering, and we are really in a dire need of these new things, new creations. And if we can put in this a little bit of effort and use some basic practices to reach those higher levels of consciousness, because it is easy for us. Earlier people used to get awakened, they used to put in a lot of effort, and just because we are struggling so much, so right now we do not even have to put in that much of effort. It will come easily to us. Only thing we need is that aspiration, and if we can, somehow develop that aspiration and walk that path, or walk any path to reach that high levels of consciousness, our planet could be in a better state, and we all could live, peacefully.
Yes, I love that. Thank you. And how can people reach you to be able to work with you?
Yes, people can reach me through my website. It's at divneetkaurlall.com. And if they want to get a copy of the book, there is a button on the website which is order the book. They can click on that button, and there are so many retailers which are selling the book, so they can reach there.
Wonderful. Thank you, Divneet. It was great to have you on Raise the Vibe with Liz.
Thank you so much, Liz. It was so great talking to you.
Thank you. And everybody, you can reach Divneet at divneetkaurlall.com, and her book is Mastering Creation Using the Law of Unification. Divneet, thank you so much.
Thank you, Liz. It was so wonderful, talking to you. It was so great.
It was. I really appreciated our conversation. Thank you. And thank you everyone for joining us today. This is Raise the Vibe with Liz. I'm your host, Liz Peterson, and you can find me on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube at Raise the Vibe with Liz, and my website at lizshealingtouch.com. Thank you for joining us, everyone. And remember to get out there and raise the vibe. Have a great day, everybody. Thank you.